Now that finals are over, I have time to write down some more of my experiences living with the haunted doll I have dubbed Shitwaffle. A lot of people have had suggestions as to how to handle this situation, which I appreciate. Since my first post, I actually did purchase the Ouija board as recommended. Hasbro brand, which is never not going to be hilarious to me. I'll get to everything that's happened since last week, but before that, I figured I'd share some more of the stories I didn't manage to finish. Let it be noted that, again, I won't be able to get to everything this post. I've learned my lesson from last time. Starting off, I should probably address the demonic rituals I mentioned. These usually happen late at night. I've never actually witnessed one, but while I'm laying in bed, I can hear the chanting and shuffling movement from the living room. Because I am an unrepentant coward, I never get up to see what's going on. Just put in my headphones or go back to sleep. Afterwards, there's always a lingering smell of smoke and sulfur, but otherwise no mess, so I guess I can't complain if Shitwaffle wants to have his demonic friends over for a gathering. Of course, the first time it happened was terrifying. I woke up at 3 a.m. in the pitch black of my room and heard a cacophony of voices growling right outside my door. My body froze up with fear. It was a horrible sensation. You'd think that hearing intruders banging around my house at night would propel me to leap up and defend myself with a frenzied desperation. But something about lying prone in the dark gives a false sense of fragile security. I was convinced that if I so much as twitched, the outsiders would know immediately and descend upon me with a fury. Irrationally, I thought the only thing that would keep me safe was to stay in that vulnerable position. The worst part was the voices. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of dogs or cats making almost human-sounding words, contorting their vocal cords into sounds that people consider cute imitations, but that's the closest thing I can think of. Except their baseline seemed to be more along the lines of the deep, guttural crackles of crocodiles, so I guess imagine a crocodile trying to imitate a human voice, and you've got a pretty good idea of what I was hearing through the walls while I was curled up all alone in my room. Needless to say, I don't find dogs saying "I love you" very cute anymore. It wasn't until the next morning that I can consider the whole situation without a haze of panic clouding my mind. I knew that Shitwaffle would never allow intruders in the house. It also made sense that my roommate would want to invite companions over. I mean, sharing a house is great and all, but it doesn't really fulfill the need to have social interactions. So I put my fear aside as best I can. I even managed to gather up the courage to bang on the wall and call out, "Keep it down, I'm trying to sleep," when they get too rowdy out there. Miraculously, they do actually quiet down when I ask. That doesn't make the whole experience any less unsettling, but I appreciate their consideration. The orb phenomenon is much less intense by comparison. They're just these glowing, floating orbs that appear around the house sometimes and wander around. I don't know if it's more house guests or some sort of manifestation of Shitwaffle's soul, but they're quite useful at night when I get up to fill a glass of water in the middle of the night and can't find the light switch. The orb's glow illuminates just enough so that I don't stub my toe on the counter while I walk. I always make sure to give Shitwaffle a big thumbs up when I'm following the orb to the kitchen or bathroom at night. Show my gratitude. Shitwaffle never replies, except with a sardonic stare. I get the feeling that I'm amusing to it. One of my friends was over once when the doll was orbing. It was daytime, so the orb wasn't as bright, but she was still pretty impressed. She always believed in ghosts and excitedly informed me that usually they have some sort of unfinished business that ties them to this realm. I vaguely remember something like that in a movie I watched once, so I guess it could be legit. Later that day, after she left, I tried to have a sit-down with Shitwaffle and talk about what it wanted from me exactly. "Hey, Shitwaffle," I began. "How are you?" The doll sitting on the couch next to me said nothing. Cool, I continued awkwardly. "So, hey, is there any way I can help you?" The doll stared at me. "Do you need some sort of closure?" I clarified, feeling stupid. "Do you need help completing some sort of unfinished business to, pass on to the other side?" At that, Shitwaffle finally turned its head to face me, seeming extremely offended. "Well, shit, no need to give me that look," I exclaimed. "I was just trying to have a conversation. Look, if you don't need to find inner peace or whatever, that's chill. Less work for me. Just thought I'd offer in case you wanted help. We don't really talk at all, and I figured I'd check in." This seemed to pacify Shitwaffle, whose body went slack again into the state I'd come to call relaxed indifference. Deciding I could use some relaxed indifference myself, I plopped myself onto the cushion next to the doll. "Want to watch some TV?" I asked. In response, the television switched itself on with a sudden hum. Channels flicked by automatically in a massive static, finally stopping on a nature documentary. I thought it was pretty cool that Shitwaffle didn't even need to use a remote. I wish I could do that. We spent the rest of the evening watching gory footage of lions eating zebras in an almost companionable silence. I'd like to say that we grew closer as a result. However, the next day when I tripped on the carpet and fell flat on my face while getting ready for class, Shitwaffle just giggled hysterically. So the dog is officially still a little bastard. I'd love to complain more about the things Shitwaffle has done, but if I don't stop here, then this will end up way too long and I still have to get to the events of the past week. The most important development was probably the Ouija board. I bought one for cheap over the weekend to communicate with Shitwaffle, because communication with housemates is important. The instructions said that more than one person was required to operate the board, so I invited some friends over to try it out. You know your friends are cool when they'll willingly come over to help you commune with the spirit inhabiting your creepy doll through Ouija board on short notice. One even brought snacks, which was awesome. Only Peter didn't show up, but I don't really blame him for being freaked out by the whole thing. Most of my friends experienced weird stuff involving Shitwaffle, so they knew I wasn't making shit up. Unfortunately, this made people a lot less eager to come and hang out at my place, which is fine. We have lots of fun at the bar downtown or at my friends' places. The point is, it's been a while since I had so many people over. It was weird, but good to have the house filled with my friends joking and shenanigans again. That's what I like about them. Even in somewhat serious situations, they could make it into something fun. Anyway, we're all sitting down around the Ouija board, and it was time to begin. We went through all the steps with Shitwaffle watching us from his place of honor on the table. Once that was done, we greeted the spirit and asked its true name like the instructions told us to do. Nothing happened. We tried again, and Juan started to get nervous, saying that he felt like the doll was displeased with us. Still, we asked a third time. The planchette nearly slipped from under our sweaty fingers as it spelled out, F-U-C-K-O-F-F. The group shared an uneasy little laugh. One of us, I can't remember who, said jokingly, "Wow, after all the trouble we went through to set this party up for you, and you won't even speak to us? Rude." Evidently, this pissed Shitwaffle off, because the planchette moved again, even more forcefully this time. A few people yelped as their arms were yanked along. S-T-U-P-I-D. All of us, sensing the anger at our attempts to bother the doll, grew silent. Except for Lucy, whose favorite hobby is evidently poking hornets' nests. She replied snidely, "Oh, so that's your true name? Nice to meet you, stupid." Before any of the rest of us could process what was happening, the planchette indignantly zoomed straight to the no in the corner of the board and then down to the letter U. "No, you?" Lucy cackled wildly. "Oh my god, what are you, 5? I glared at her and told her to be nice, but she was rolling on the floor in tears. The rest of my friends were either mortified or cracking smiles. In the commotion, the doll had disappeared. I found Shitwaffle later after everyone had left, sulking in a closet. Now, I don't know what was really going on with the Ouija board. Maybe my friends really were so aggravating to the taciturn doll that it reverted to calling us childish names out of frustration. Or maybe Shitwaffle's real name started with a U, but wasn't finished because of Lucy's distraction. Another possibility is that Lucy was the one controlling the planchette. It doesn't seem like something she would do. The alternative is that Shitwaffle goes around calling people stupid, which... I don't know what to think about that. It kind of ruins the mystique of an otherworldly being. So, all in all, the Ouija board was a massive failure. I'm not too disappointed though, because honestly, I hadn't put too much hope in getting answers from something manufactured by Hasbro. Finally, I should address people's concerns about the name Shitwaffle. It might be a bit vulgar, but I don't get the sense that the doll really cares. It comes off as aloof, like it couldn't care less what petty mortals might call it. Of course, if the message on the Ouija board was actually from the doll, then maybe that detachment isn't as complete as it wants us to think. I guess we'll find out more as I continue to update my observations of my eccentric roommate.